Hey everybody, this is Helena Hart, and I'm here with my very good friend and fellow coach, Matt Shaffer, again today. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, Helena, it's so nice to be back here with you. It's always so much fun connecting with you and your amazing audience.
Absolutely. We are streaming this live on YouTube today, so feel free to say hi in the chat. Let us know any questions you have about this topic. This is a really important one today. We're going to be sharing 4 ways to tell if a man is falling in love with you or love bombing you. This is something I get asked about all the time. I know there's a lot of confusion around this, at least from women in my community. Matt, do you hear that as well?
It is. So it's why I made a video on it, is because so many women, like, they have so much fear that they're being love bombed, right? So
Yeah.
part of what I'm doing with this particular theme is to look at the difference between like honeymoon phase, early stage love, and love bombing, because they are very different, but they can seem similar, especially at the beginning.
Definitely. So while we're waiting for some people to join us live, is there anything you want to say before we dive into this topic, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I am excited to give a gift to the members of
Mhm.
your amazing community. I am actually doing a free beta test of my $2,000 flagship program, Mastery of Connection. It's going to be dozens of hours of live coaching with me and 15 video lessons to help you transform your relationships from the inside out. And we start October 10th. And it's absolutely free. So we'd love to have you as a part of the course. Have you seen people go through the course before, Helena? Like in your
Absolutely.
program?
This is hands down my absolute favorite free course to offer. And the question I always get is it really free? And the answer is yes, it's 100% free. It's a 3-week course, and Matt's going to be doing a lot of personal coaching during his live workshops and office hours. So if you want to get a lot of personalized attention while this is still being offered totally free to my community, that is the first link in the description or episode details. So go ahead and click that link. It starts October 10th. But if you're watching this, maybe next week or something, people should still join, right?
100%. Yeah, you can sign up at any point during the course. And even if you only get to go in for 5 days or a week or 2 weeks, you're going to get a ton of value. You're going to get a ton of live coaching from me. I'm going to be doing dozens of hours of live group coaching with everybody there. Plus, it's going to help you master your beliefs, your attachment style, your personality type, all the things that you have to have mastered in order to have great relationships with men and everybody else in your life. So it's
Awesome.
going to be a party. All you have to do is click that link in the description and apply to be a beta tester. All I want, if you enjoy the course, is feedback and testimonials. I'm trying to make this course the best it possibly can be, and that's
Amazing.
all I would
I
love from
love
you.
it. Absolutely. Everyone who's taken it has just said it's absolutely life-changing, right? And so
Mhm.
some people in the chat are already excited to join. So click that link before it fills up. I know space is limited and it starts in
It
just a
is.
couple days. So yeah, we
Yeah.
have some people joining live now. So let's dive into this topic. Do you want to set any frame or context here? Or are you just ready to share the first secret?
Well, you know how much I love context, Elena.
Yeah,
I'm a
that's why
big
I
fan
asked.
of context, right?
Yeah.
And so really the context is I have so many clients, so many students I work with who they're in a great initial stages of getting to know somebody. They're in the honeymoon phase and they're freaking out because they're like, well, this seems too good to be true. Is this the honeymoon phase
Mhm.
or is this love bombing? Right?
Right.
Love bombing. And for those of you who don't know what love bombing is a tool that's used by narcissists and other wounded masculine men where they basically overwhelm you with a tremendous amount of praise and compliments, and they basically want to model your perfect partner for you. It's called the idealization phase of the narcissistic abuse cycle. So a narcissist will present himself as your perfect partner. He'll learn everything you want and present himself as Mr. Perfect to get you under his control, and then he will begin to abuse you once he's got you locked up. And so a lot of women are very afraid of being love bombed. And
Mhm.
I understand, right? It's a scary thing to go through. And I'm sure many women have heard lots of scary stories around it, right? So but the problem that I end up seeing so often is that a lot of women, like, they're so scared of being love bombed that they will like think that every guy is love bombing them, when a
Yes.
lot of times guys are just trying to be a great partner to you. They're
Mhm.
just infatuated with you. They're activated by you, and they're trying to be the best person they possibly can for you. And what happens is a lot of women will end up sabotaging or pushing away good guys because they think that they're love bombing you, or they end up not letting anybody in. right?
So true. I see that all the
Yeah.
time. So I think it's important to note right off the bat that not all men do this love bombing thing, right? It's probably just a small percentage of guys who do this. And they're not all narcissists, I would imagine, right? Or is every guy who love bombs a narcissist, in your opinion?
No, actually, there
Yeah.
are other like narcissists will love bomb, and also other wounded masculine men
Hmm.
will love bomb as well. You know, guys that are not secure with themselves, they'll pretend to be, you know, perfect just to try to get you to like them, right? And
Yeah.
either way, you don't want to like go along with being love bomb. You want to be able to identify that. But a lot of times, a man who's courting you and who's being really activated and inspired by you, he's going to give you a lot of signs that can be confused with love bombing.
Yeah.
So I want to create that
Hmm.
distinction so you can figure out how to like let the right man in and keep the wrong man out,
Yeah.
because I think
So
it's super duper
important.
important.
Very important to know the difference. Yeah. So let's jump in. What's the first way to tell if a man is falling in love versus love bombing you?
Yeah, so it's going to be like one versus the other. So the first dynamic I want you to look at in the early stage of getting to know somebody is freedom versus control. This is a huge distinction. So if a man is truly activated and inspired and excited by you, he is going to want to be courting you from a space of wanting to create freedom
Mm,
for you, freedom for the two of you to be together. He wants you to be someone that he can explore the world together, and he wants to help you shine in the brightest way possible, right? He's genuinely interested in who you are and what you're about for no other reason than he's really excited about you, and he wants to
mhm,
learn how to make you feel better, right? So he's going to ask you lots of questions about your childhood, about, you know, these different aspects of your the depth of your personality. He's going to want to get to know the little things about you so that he can show up in the most powerful way for you, so he can serve you, so he can support you. You know, he wants to make sure he doesn't act in a way that triggers your trauma. So he's going to ask about
mm.
your past and about your past relationships. That's a guy who's operating from a space of freedom, right? And then
Yes.
the other side of that is what the love bomber will do is he's going to operate from a space of control. So he might ask you a lot of those same questions. So he's going to try to get to know you and ask you a lot of deep questions, but he's doing it so that he can exploit them. He can
Mm,
exploit the information he has against you, you know? So he's going to ask you the questions, but then he might emotionally blackmail you with them. Right. So he might find out that you have a lot of trauma around, you're working through a lot of trauma around your father, right? That you were
mm,
betrayed by your father or something. And then, you know, he might say like, oh, well, you know, you're acting just like your father right now, you
right.
know, and he'll
Mhm.
take whatever you shared and he'll weaponize it. He'll weaponize it against you. Like, oh, didn't you tell me you were self-conscious about your legs? Why are you wearing that dress?
Mm,
See,
mhm.
like he's going to take and he's going to be using the details that he's learned about your life in order to control you and kind of blackmail you. So if he's like doing that, if you find yourself like being like, oh wow, he learned that about me and now he's hurting me with it, that's a sign that he's trying to control you with the details he learned about you in your life, and that he's probably love bombing you.
Got it. Oh, such an important distinction. It can be easy to miss those things, especially if there was a phase of idealization or he really hooked you in. I think a lot of
Hmm.
women I see, at least, who are susceptible to this, maybe are not that experienced. They've been out of the dating scene for a long
Yeah.
time, or maybe they're newly single. They were in a bad relationship where they didn't get a lot of affection or attention. And then this guy comes along, like this seemingly, knight in shining armor, and just
Yeah.
showers her with everything that she wasn't getting in her last relationship or maybe ever in her love life. So it can be easy to get hooked on a guy like that and then miss some of these signs. So I think that's really important. Is there anything else you want to say on this first one? Or are we ready to move into number two?
Yeah, I think we're good on number one.
Okay.
I want to dive into number two, right? Number two, the second dynamic I want you to look for honeymoon phase love versus love bombing is a fast but controlled build versus a runaway train.
Mm,
This is
love it.
speaking to the momentum of the relationship, right? So this is about the speed at which attachment and commitment unfolds within the relationship. So in a honeymoon phase of a really activated, inspired relationship, it's natural for things to move a little fast, right? For physicality to escalate within the first like 2 or 3 dates, and for things to start getting a little hot and heavy, and maybe the L word starts getting thrown around maybe in the first couple months. It can happen pretty quick, right? But the key thing I want you to listen to and look for is that in honeymoon phase love, the man truly does care and is conscious of your boundaries and your preferences. So if you share a boundary with him, hey, I'd like to take things slow, I'd like to slow things down, he's going to listen to that. He's going to be listening for your preferences, right? Because fundamentally, a man who's in the honeymoon phase of love, who is not a narcissist, who's not looking to exploit you, he cares about how you feel. He cares about your needs. He doesn't want to screw up the relationship by moving faster than you're comfortable with. So he's going to want to escalate and push things forward, right? Because that's the masculine drive. Like that's what men do, right? Like that, we feel like that's our responsibility, right? Especially if we're activated and inspired and turned on by our partner. But if you give us feedback that you want us to slow down, that you'd like to be touched a different way or in a different place, or, you know, you would like more of this or less of that, a person who's like genuinely wanting to court you and claim you from a healthy space, he's going to listen, he's going to honor it, and he's going to shift the way that he's showing up. So it's like a fast but controlled build that's connected to your needs. Whereas if a person is love bombing you, if a guy's love bombing you, it is like a runaway train. He is coming at you with a full on like DEFCON 5 emotional affection. Like he's going to call you his soulmate on the first date. He's going to want to name your kids together on the first or the second date. He's going to be talking about marriage within the first 2 weeks of knowing you. A lot of times it's going to feel like too good to be true, because realistically it kind of is. In this situation, and you're going to feel like you almost have no control, like you're being swept up in a tornado of romanticism, and it's going to be kind of overwhelming. And when you try to, if you try to express boundaries or you try to pump the brakes a little bit with him, he's going to come over the top on you and just keep going. Because because he knows, right, as a narcissist, because chances are this isn't the first time he's done this, that if he just keeps pouring, you know, this overwhelming like love and affection and romantic stuff onto you, that eventually you're going to surrender, right? If you've allowed him to get this far. So it's a technique that works for these guys, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And then they can pull the rug out from under you. I'm sure we'll talk about that as we get into some of these more ways to know if a man is love bombing you. I really like that second one. I've actually never heard this information in this way before. So I'm learning something here today. I absolutely love that. What is the third way to tell if a man is falling in love versus love bombing you?
Okay. So this third distinction comes around compliments. Right. So it's going to be the difference between realistic compliments and idealized flattery. This is the distinction here, right? So a person who is courting you, a man who's activated and inspired with you, he's going to be, you know, he's going to be complimenting you. He's going to be talking about things that are realistic and grounded, you know, in you. Like, oh my gosh, that dress looks so beautiful on you. I love your green eyes. You have beautiful eyes, right? Or like something about your personality, like you're hilarious. Have you ever thought about doing stand-up? If you go to an open mic, I swear I will be there and I will be cheering you on. You know, they're going to be compliments. They're going to be sincere and they're going to be kind of deep, but they're not going to be like crazy deep. You know what I'm saying? Because he recognizes that he's in the early stages of getting to know you. He doesn't want to push too far, and the compliments are going to feel grounded in truth and reality. So that's how a healthy man will compliment a woman that he's inspired in the beginning stages of getting to know somebody, as opposed to idealized flattery. This is the other thing. This is a guy who's going to start saying the most wild, deep compliments about you before he's really even had a chance to get to know you. Like he's looking at your eyes on the first date and saying, I think you're my soulmate. You know, we've been lovers in a past life. Do you know that? What should our kids' names be? You know, like you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in the entire planet. Like, fuck, let's get married. Let's elope to Vegas next weekend. And like, he's kind of joking, but not really. Like there's a weird sort of sincerity to what he's saying. Like, and these are compliments that, of course, once a man has spent 6 months with you, a year with you, whatever, like you guys have built a foundation of a relationship, these compliments are not inappropriate at that stage. But if a man has known you for like a week and he's saying all that stuff and you're like, holy shit, I really made an impact on this guy.
Mhm.
Like, no, be careful, right? That's a lot of times a guy using a tactic of idealized flattery to love bomb you, to try to get you to drop all your walls and just let him, like, trust him completely, which is a bad
Yeah.
idea.
So true. I can't tell you how many times I see this in the comment sections of some of my videos, at least a few a week. They say he told me I was his soulmate, we were going to get married, and then,
Ugh.
3 weeks later he dropped off and faded away, or he started criticizing me. It just went south. And so it's really important to catch that difference. I think it's a really good distinction. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say on this one? Are we ready for number 4?
Yeah, I think the one thing to just remember with this one is to really like trust your intuition on this, and recognize that if a guy says a compliment to you and you're like, how can this guy say that? He doesn't even know me. Like if you get
Right.
that initial reflexive response around this, that's one of those things where you should be like, okay, he really doesn't know me. He's just saying this because he's looking to get a desired outcome from it. Like
Yeah.
trust if you get an intuitive hit of like, how could this guy possibly know this about me? Like we've known each other for a week. That's usually the sign that he's just engaging in idealized flattery to try to hook you in that way.
It's hard because you want to believe it when you have strong feelings for a guy, right? You may be starting
Mhm.
to feel the same way about him. And so we just
Yep.
hold on to this hope, and we're hoping that maybe this is the exception to the rule, but usually it's not, right? So this
Almost
is
never.
so important. I'm so glad to be putting this information out there. What's the last way to tell if a man is falling in love or love bombing you?
Yes. And this last one is probably the most important one. It's super, super, super important. And it's the difference between gradual transitions and a gradual emotional shifts and abrupt transitions.
Mm,
Okay. So it's gradual versus abrupt. Now it's natural when, because a honeymoon phase doesn't last forever, right? Like we all know that, right? At a certain point, for somewhere between 6 months to 2 years during the course of a relationship, in the early stages of a relationship, the honeymoon phase will fade. It will transition into, like, it'll go from that blissful early stage into a more grounded, stable, like, partnership. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? So
mhm.
you'll feel sort of a transition from the, oh my gosh, this person can do no wrong, into, oh, this person is my partner. I love them. I see their flaws. I see their strengths, and I'm in this. You'll feel like a transition, but it'll be gradual. And it won't be like this violent thing, because here's the thing. If you are being love bombed, remember, this is all a facade that a
Yeah.
narcissist is engaging in. This is a construct that he has created to hook you and control you. And so it's going to be amazing, 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 amazing. And then all of a sudden, whoop, the rug gets pulled out
Mhm.
from underneath you, and he becomes a different person. And
Yeah.
let me know in the comments, ladies, if you ever experienced this, right? Where like you're dating this person and he literally seems like the greatest guy you've ever dated. And then one day a switch flips and he starts to be mean to you. He
Yeah.
starts to stonewall you. He starts to emotionally disconnect from you. And that means that he's decided he no longer needs to love bomb you. And now he's ready to move into the second phase of the narcissistic cycle, which is the narcissistic abuse phase. It's where he's like,
Mhm.
okay, now I'm ready to break you down to get what I want, which is your unending attention and energy. And
Yeah.
a lot of times he does that through making you unhappy. So it's if you feel that abrupt shift like that, chances are you're in the clutches of a
Yeah.
narcissist.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sounds like some people are definitely experienced this or have. We have a question: a marriage proposal, then ghosting. Is that normal? No, that's definitely not normal, right? That's kind of what we're talking about here. Right, Matt?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
that's a guy who's like, "Oh, you're my soulmate, you're my forever person until I have you, and then I'm going to throw you away, or I'm going to begin to be cruel to you." And a lot of times a guy ghosts like that if he's a narcissist because he's found a new supply. He's found a new person to prey upon
Yeah.
for his energy, and because these men are parasites, like they're preying on you, on your
Yeah.
emotions, on your energy, and they're feeding off of you, right? So if they get bored with you, they end up moving on once they've gotten what they felt they wanted from you.
Yeah, it's so true. And they kind of build up a tolerance to the supply that they're getting from you and they get bored with it, just like someone would build up a tolerance to caffeine or alcohol or something, and they kind of put you on the back
Mhm.
burner and they find someone else to get that new supply from. It's just a horrible cycle to be in. We want you to recognize this right away. So I had one guy like 2 years ago. He was like that and he hurt my feelings later. Yeah, super, super common. And I see a
Mhm.
couple more questions in the chat, but before we get to them, do you want to recap these 4 points and anything else you'd like to say on this topic, Matt? I would love to
Yeah,
hear
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So the last point I want to make about this abrupt shift
Hmm.
thing is that the tragedy that I see a lot of women do that they've told me about in their past with narcissists is that once this person becomes a different person, like it feels like it's like there's been like a possession, right? Where the person is possessed by somebody else and they want so badly to get Prince Charming back that they
Yes.
stay in the relationship and they
Hmm.
allow themselves to continue to be abused and to be hurt for months and years, kind of like hoping that Prince Charming is going to come back. Please believe me when I tell you, Prince Charming, if he just disappears in a puff of smoke one day, he was never real. He never
Yes.
existed. And you want to walk away from that because this person that you're seeing now, who's criticizing you and controlling you and gaslighting you and being cruel to you, that person is the true person. That person is that person's truth, you know?
100%.
Like, so,
Yep.
so, so believe him, believe how he's
Hmm.
showing up and walk away. Right.
Yeah,
And
so true.
important point number two is that love bombing doesn't just happen at the beginning of a relationship. Love bombing can happen anytime a narcissist wants to pull you in and exact more control over you, right? So a lot of times a narcissist will start to love bomb once you try to leave,
Hmm.
once if he feels you pulling away, right? He's gonna be like, oh shit, she's gonna leave, and then he'll revert back into Prince Charming. He'll start doing and saying all the wonderful things. He'll use grand gestures to try to get you to sort of like be like, oh my god, Prince Charming's back, yay. And then you'll
Hmm.
go back to him. Trust me, he'll do it anytime. So don't
Yeah.
think just because you're out of the early stage that he's never going to love bomb you again. It's always going to be a tool for control.
Such an important point. And like you said before, if you're really attached to this guy and you're hoping to get Prince Charming back, when he starts to do that, when he senses that you're getting a little self-esteem or you're kind
Mhm.
of getting smart to what he's doing, he'll come back in with the love bombing. And that's when you can get hooked again. It's really traumatic thing that people can go through. So I love everything you shared. Do you want to recap these four real quick? Then we can get to a couple
Absolutely.
of questions before we close out.
For sure. All right. So
Okay.
to review, point number one, the
Mhm.
first distinction is freedom versus control. Is he, and that's in the time in the period of getting to know you, right? Is he getting to know you and asking you lots of deep questions to help understand you so he can help you create freedom so that you two can explore the world together, so he can learn your preferences and boundaries so he can be the best partner possible? Like, is he wanting to know you from a space of freedom, or is he asking you all these deep questions and stuff so he can get to know you, so he can control you, so he can
Mm.
emotionally blackmail you? Does he start trying to use the little details you've shared with him about your life against you? If he's doing that, it's probably love bombing, right? And the second distinction is a fast but controlled build versus a runaway train. Basically, like when a man is courting you and he's inspired in you and he's looking to like win you over, it's natural for any man, right, to want to escalate physicality within 2 or 3 dates, right? To want to, like be a great guy, towards you, and to want to push things forward and maybe drop an L bomb after a month or two and want to be in
Mhm.
relationship with you after a couple months, right? I claimed my girlfriend Callie real early on in getting to know her, so that's okay. But if it's a runaway train, then it's probably love bombing. And when I say runaway train, I mean like he's just pushing forward. He's trying to sweep you up into a relationship like on the first date. He's trying to like exact like full ownership of you very early on, right? He is
Mhm.
on your first date. He's asking if you're seeing any other people. Are you seeing anybody else right now? And you're feeling some weird sense of like possession that he
Mhm.
hasn't earned. That's a sign that it's a runaway train, because the big distinction between this fast but controlled build and a runaway train in terms of pacing is that if it's a fast but controlled build of a healthy relationship, he's going to be connected to your expression of boundaries. So if you ask to slow things down, if you ask to be like, hey, that doesn't feel good to me, he's going to honor that. He's going to be willing to shift and adjust because he
Yeah.
cares how you feel. Whereas if it's this runaway train love bomber, he's just going to try to roll right over you. You tell him to slow down and he's going to be like, how about we go to Monaco next week? Like he's just gonna try to ignore what it is that you're trying to say and push forward because he really doesn't care about your needs. He wants to control you. Okay.
Yeah. So great.
Yeah. And the third distinction is realistic compliments versus idealized flattery. And this is a big one. This talks about the way he's acknowledging you, right? If it's realistic compliments, it means that he's giving you sincere compliments that are grounded in the reality of who you are. Early stage dating, right? So he's like, wow, you have the most beautiful eyes, right? I love that dress on you. You're so funny. You should be a stand-up comedian. I have so much fun when we're together. Those are like realistic compliments that are tied to what he knows about you, right? Whereas if it's idealized flattery, it's, oh my God, on the first date, oh my God, you know, you're my soulmate. We've been lovers in 1,000 lifetimes. What are our kids' names going to be? Like, this is the sort of stuff that, like, if a guy's doing this on the first or second date, he's going way over the top because he knows that this is a tool that he can control women with. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's love bombing. And the last one, the fourth distinction, is a gradual shift versus an abrupt transition. Okay. And that kind of speaks to the end of the honeymoon phase, right? If you're at a healthy relationship, or at a certain point, 6 months to a year into that honeymoon, the honeymoon phase ends. And it gradually shifts into a stable, healthy, secure partnership where you see your partner's flaws and his good parts and his bad parts, and you accept him regardless, right? That's like the normal transition, is it happens gradually. Whereas at the end of the love bombing phase, it is like he turns into a different person. It is an abrupt shift. One day he's Mr. Perfect. Next day he's like, why the hell wasn't dinner on the table at 6? And who do you think you are talking to me like that? He like turns into a different person. If there's like an abrupt shift where you feel like the rug's been pulled out from under you and he's turned into, a monster overnight, chances are he's just transitioned from the love bombing idealization phase of the relationship into the narcissistic abuse phase.
Yeah.
So those are the four, I think, key distinctions to help tell, honeymoon phase love from the love bombing narcissistic phase.
So great. This is such great content. I've done hundreds of these. I think this is one of the most important topics so women don't get swept up in this love bombing thing and then end up devastated or heartbroken when a guy suddenly pulls the rug out from under them. So thank you for that recap. That was great. I know we just have a couple minutes left. Let's get to some questions. Is love bombing common? Great question. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one, Matt.
If you're dealing with a narcissist, it's one of the most common tools that they have because it's at the early stage of getting to know you. Because you got to remember, the first phase of a narcissist's cycle with you is the idealization phase. So in the idealization phase, just like the word idealization, it's all about learning who your dream partner is so that they can present themselves as your ideal partner. They can present themselves as your perfect partner, So love bombing is one of the greatest tools they have to try to present themselves as that perfect partner so that you drop your guard and you start to believe, oh my God, maybe I finally found the person I've been waiting for my whole life. And so it's easy because all they have to do is just ask you a bunch of questions, get you talking about yourself, learn all these things that you want, and then just pretend to be that guy. And they've been doing it for so long because they're sort of professional pretenders. They're so good at presenting themselves as false versions of who they are to everybody in their life that, it's very second nature for them to do that. So if you're with a narcissist, almost all of them use love bombing in some way because it's one of the most effective tools for control that a narcissist has, especially with a really huge-hearted, loving woman, which oftentimes narcissists prey upon very loving, sweet, trusting women.
Empathic, absolutely. Yeah, the kind of women that are drawn to this work. But so it's easy to think that all men do this, but not all men do this. It's important to note. Everyone type that into the live chat. Not all men do this because you don't want to be so afraid of it that you start to attract it. Or like you said at the beginning, shut all the good men out, right?
And that is literally the final and most important point I want to make, of my, talking at you in this video is that not all men are love bombers. Not all men are narcissists. You know, I share these points with you, not to scare you, but to help give you tools to build and practice discernment. You know, you get to trust yourself and trust your discernment, right? Not project, because especially if you've had trauma with narcissists in the past, you're going to be predisposed to thinking that every man is a narcissist, you know? And it's important to remind yourself that, you know, there are great guys out there, and there are men that are going to want to court you and claim you and be your ideal partner, not because they want to screw you over, but because they love you and they've fallen for you and they want to be your ideal partner. And especially if you're doing the work and you're showing up as high value and you're not attached to outcome and you're out there, you know, crushing it, like, you're going to attract higher value men who are going to be, you know, in it to win it with you. And if a man is truly courting you and he's in it for all the right reasons, you're going to be able to feel it and you're going to be able to tell. So I say all this stuff just to help you trust yourself, not to scare you.
Absolutely. I think this is such great information. I rejected his request for a goodbye kiss on our first date, and he hasn't contacted me since then. I think she means, how should I respond to this situation? Great question.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I will be honest with you. I am that guy who I will always, if I've had a good first date, I'm always going to go for it. I'm always going to go for the kiss on the first date. If it went well, if I felt really inspired by the person, if whatever, I'm going to go for it. And it is painful when you get the head turn, when you get the deflection, you know, like, it's a bit of an ego shot for a guy to experience that. And also, like, if this guy is a healthy man with a healthy relationship with his ego, and he actually wants to get to know you, and he's not just interested in physicality with you, like, he will keep coming forward. You know, if he's a insecure guy who was maybe looking to escalate physicality and that was his main thing, and he's not actually interested in building a relationship with you, then he might just be like, screw it. I gave it a shot. She didn't like me. Whatever. I don't care. You know, like, if a guy goes to you because you didn't kiss him on the first date, that's probably not the kind of guy that you want to be in a relationship with.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Yeah, so important. Oh, hi, Navita. She says, I've been out of touch for a year. You're glowing. Are you pregnant? Thank you. I was pregnant. I just had a baby like last week. So yeah, I think the hormones are shifting. I'm having a hot flash over here. My hair is sticking to me, but I'm so happy. So maybe I still have that pregnancy glow, even though I'm not pregnant anymore. I was just thinking, this is my first video in 2022 where I'm not pregnant. So it feels so great to be here and connect with everyone. She has another question. Why do men go cold after sexual intimacy? Any thoughts on this one? Again, not all men do this, right? Not all men do this. It's important to recognize that.
But men can do that for a variety of reasons, right? Of course, the obvious reason is that's all they wanted. You know, and now the wounded masculine, the toxic masculine who's after the sexual conquest, right? The instant he gets it, he's done, right? He's checked out, right? So, but that's not the only reason, right? And that's not the only type of man that does that. Sometimes a man has trauma around sexual intimacy, where he's got shame around sex for whatever reason, or he feels really insecure about his own sexual performance or whatever, you know? And so he might shut down because he gets triggered after sex, you know, and he goes into like a sympathetic fight or flight response, you know? And so, like, if a guy is like shutting down emotionally after sex, there's an opportunity for you to address it, for you to be like, hey, so I feel like something shifted. My experience of you is that something kind of shifted after we connected, after we were intimate. And I'm just curious, like, what came up for you, or what are you feeling, you know, and how can I support you? Right. Like, don't always assume the worst, but if a guy like sleeps you and then just fucking disappears off the face of the earth, you know, that's one of those things where it kind of is what it is. Right. And, but it's not always that. Sometimes there's emotional stuff that's at play there.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. We could do a whole nother episode just on that topic. I think that's a good one, because that's something I get asked about all the time too. I think one more question. Can you elaborate doing the work? that leads us probably to talking about your course one more time too before we close out, right?
Yeah, 100%. And what I talk about when I'm saying doing the work is doing the inner work that's necessary to become the best version of yourself so you can show up as your best self in a relationship, right? And it's important for both men and women to do their work, right? Because truly every relationship with somebody else is a mirror for your relationship with yourself. You're going to constantly be getting yourself reflected back to you, right? And the work that you need to do and the sort of partners that you attract and the sort of relationships that you manifest, right? Which is why I've got an amazing free course coming up starting October 10th. It's a free live course with me called Mastery of Connection. This is a $2,000 course that I am offering for free to this wonderful community as a beta tester, basically. So you'll have the opportunity to get live coaching with me, dozens of hours of live coaching with me, and get a dozen video lessons that are going to help take you through deep belief work to help look at your beliefs around relationship, your beliefs around the stories you've created about who you are and what type of love you're worthy of, and shift those beliefs so that you can have better relationships, because your beliefs are the foundation of the type of relationships that you create in your life. I promise, right?
So
we're also going to
true.
we're also going to be doing attachment style work to help you identify your attachment style and help you shift from anxious or avoidant into secure attachment style. And we're also going to help you identify your personality type, which is going to help you see why you've been having the sort of patterns that you've been having in relationship up until now, so you can change them and have better relationships. So it's going to be an awesome experience. We got women from around the world that are going to be doing it together in a really awesome community. And I'd love for you to be a part of it. So it's going to be from October 10th through the 31st. You can sign up at the link in the description. And we hope to see you there, because it's always an incredible transformational journey for everybody who shows up.
Absolutely. Totally free, 100% free. And you're going to get
100%.
so much personalized coaching and support during all the live workshops and everything. So that'll be the first link in the description or episode details. If you're watching live, close the live chat, click the title of this video. It'll be the first link. I'll also add it to the comment section as soon as we're done here. So let me just check in. Let's see. Love this content. How do I trust men when I have that in my nervous system from my mother as a child? Oh, great question. I think you're probably just joining. If you go back and watch the replay of this, it'll help you trust yourself so you can start trusting men and attracting men that you trust. Any thoughts on this one quickly, Matt, before we close out?
And again, part of what we'll be doing in the course that I would invite you to join us in Master Connection is, there's a lot of like forgiveness work and the stuff that you probably get to do around your mother. So we do some mother-father work in the course as well. But like we get imprints right around our relationships with men from our mother and father. It's sort of our template of our original sense of what a relationship between a man and woman is supposed to look like, is between our mother and father. So you get to the root of that, you forgive your mother for that, and you look at all the beliefs that flowed out of that and you shift them. And that's what we're going to be doing in week 1 of MLC, of Mastery Connection. So I hope you come along with us, because it can be healed and you can get past it. I've helped thousands of women do this, and your nervous system can release this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. She's already signed up. Awesome. So happy to hear that. And just checking it. Oh, you guys are so sweet. Thank you so much. Just want to make sure we didn't miss any questions. Yes, I just had a baby boy less than 2 weeks ago. Follow me on Instagram, everyone. That's the last link in the description. There's photos and videos. I think you commented on my little video, right? How old were you when you got married and pregnant? I'm 29. I feel like my time is running out. You have so much time. I got married at 38. Pregnant at 39, and just turned 40, had a baby at 40, and he's amazing, healthy, perfect. Everything is so great. So thank you so much, everyone. This was so much fun. Matt, thank you for staying a little bit over on time. We always do that because we have so much fun connecting with everyone.
Always.
Don't forget to join Matt's free course. Again, first link in the description. I'll add it to the comments too. Number 1 course I recommend to everybody. Anything else you want to say before we close out, Matt?
I just want to reinforce to all of you who are watching live or watching on the replay that truly, no matter what you've experienced, no matter what trauma, no matter what narcissistic abuse you may have gone through, that like healing is always possible. Love is always available. New experiences and expansion and growth is always there, and no matter what you've experienced, you can get past it. And it all comes down to you just being willing to do the work and to decide that you're worthy of love, that you're worthy of healing, you're worthy of forgiveness. And it all gets to come. It's all within you. It's all within you right
Absolutely.
now. So
Yeah.
we love supporting you on that journey, and I'd love to support you in Mastery Connection. So
That is beautiful. Love it so much. I hope we can do this again soon. Thank you so much, Matt. And thanks for everyone listening live. Thanks for your comments and questions. We love you all, and we will hopefully talk with you again very soon.
talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.